Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Can you go up there rather than the hall? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Good. This one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Good. I'm feeling a bit like a penicillin spore up here. That I'm here and there's this emptiness. So I'd like to invite you to move forward, at least come closer here. And if anybody would like to come and sit up here, that would also be great. That's better. Hi. Remember that story with the penicillin? Was it Banting? Who developed penicillin? Anyway, it was growing these bacteria. Out of the world came something that landed. Oh, there, yay! That landed in his petri dish and killed all the bacteria in this little circle. It's not a nice image for me sitting up here. So hello, my name is Robert. Anybody here for the first time who was not in our group in the intro? 1, 2. Great, welcome. Glad you're here. Another time, if this is of interest enough to stay, or come another time. On the first Sunday of the month, I do an introduction to practice and to PIMC. So, let's do this. Please, let's take a couple of minutes to pause, turn to your neighbor, introduce yourself, and tell them one thing for which you are grateful at this moment or today. Just a moment to break out of our isolation. There we go. We have another candle coming, so magically in just a moment. I guess we could go ahead and sing. Refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Have you noticed how unstable everything is? I mean, it's stunningly unstable. Every time you think something's going to last, it tends to dissolve right underneath us. So why not take refuge in something that is the background of the universe, which is awakeness, presence, awareness. In the Buddha and in the Dharma, that which we discover, the way things actually are when we wake up. And in the community of practice, and the community of practice through time. We human beings have been here for quite a while, and the Buddha was here quite a while ago. I mean, in planetary time, nothing, right? But in human time, recent. So we have lots of forebears who we can lean upon as we practice. I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of mindful harmony. Namo Sangaya, no Sangaya, Namo Sangaya. I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of mindful harmony. Namo Sangaya, Namo Sangaya, Namo Sangaya. Wow, that's so pretty. The harmony of voices and hearts together. So, here we sit. Still alive. mobile enough to get out of bed this morning and make our way here, one way or another. And still manifesting this mystery of awareness, this presence, this awakeness. So please, let's come home to one of the primary manifestations of our humanness, which is the body. It sits here. And it's stunningly alive. Everywhere we direct awareness, there's life. Try the right shoulder, or the left knee, or the right heel, or the back of your head, or your face. There are sounds, hearing, and breathing. Breathing is another one of those phenomena that we don't notice much, but it's absolutely, obviously essential. I've had the privilege of being present at several human deaths. And I've had an experience that I've spoken with others who've worked in that realm particularly. And 5 minutes later, half an hour later, kind of out of the corner of my eye, I would see the chest rise and fall. And then I'd look back and I'd realize it wasn't really doing that, but the presumption that it had to be was so strong that it created a perceptual fantasy. But here, in this room, in this body, at this moment, there really is breathing in and breathing out. So why not pay attention? Why not take this breathing in and breathing out as a beloved friend? As a compass that can guide us through the complexities of life, that can help us wake up. I want to welcome those of you that are joining us on the internet this morning. May your lives be filled with great ease. So breathing in and breathing out. We can notice that each breath actually has a beginning. It then has a middle or a fullness, and then a decline, and then it actually ends. Just like stars have a beginning, a middle, and an ending. Relationships. Lifetimes. And notice that you don't have to do anything to breathe. Breathing does itself. Breathing is its own keeper. We can breathe intentionally, but of course, the mind has its own agendas. And awareness doesn't necessarily just abide easily in the coming and going of the breath. You may discover the mind worrying or planning or remembering or filled with remorse or wanting something or disliking something. These are all the normal flavors of the human mind. The entirety of this practice is about realizing, about awakening to the fact that none of these phenomena are actually ultimately personal. They are life unfolding. So when you can, with no violence, with compassion and kindness and love, come home to the actual sensations of breathing in the chest and abdomen and at the nostrils, or at the nostrils. And rest there as you can, if you can. It takes great courage to actually stop and be with yourself. Thank yourself for the effort that you're making right now. Your practice in this moment is the leading edge of human evolution, the evolution of consciousness. And we've reached a place here on the earth that if we don't make this evolutionary leap, then we're in dire distress. So appreciate the importance of your sitting here now, breathing in and breathing out consciously. As we practice, we will become aware that we fall into trances. We fall into the stories of our lifetime. We become ensnared in emotions, moods, we can become completely identified with wanting, with desire, or with aversion or disliking. Or with the tangles of worry, remorse, restlessness, problem solving. Or the blurry dullness of sloth and torpor can pull us toward unconsciousness. These are not mistakes. This is the fabric of the human mind, of the personality. How to wake up and see them as they are. To love them, to accept them as they are, to ever so lovingly disidentify. come back to breathing, sitting. awakening to whatever it is that's occurring. Again and again. And many or most of us have been programmed with self-hatred or self-criticism. Often that will arise when we discover the mind has been off wandering for what seems like a long time. And that's just another wandering mind. It's another pattern. So we notice that, wandering mind, wandering self-critical mind, frustrated mind. And again and yet again, we dedicate awareness to the actual sensations of breathing and the body sitting here. We might choose the life in the hands as home base and just abide in that. Or if you've been trained in body sweeping practice, you could do that. Coming home very simply to the actual reality of the sensations of life as a body, as somebody. At some point, discomfort will arise. And these discomforts are of great importance and interest to us. And we learn through paying attention to them over time how to bear that which was previously unbearable. We develop spiritual and psychological maturity. And if it's necessary to move, then one moves mindfully. The goal isn't to learn to sit stock still for great periods of time. The goal is to become more kind and compassionate and awake, wise. Please now bring awareness into your head. Notice how it sits on top of your shoulders. And ever so slowly, let it rotate, letting your nose rotate to the left, while being very aware of it. And you'll get to some point where it begins to be resisted. And then go just a little bit further. And then release a bit, and then go just a little bit further again. Mindfulness of the body, in the neck, back. And now allowing this head to rotate ever so slowly to the right. At some point it will pass the center line. And then it'll keep going to the right. Again, to the point of resistance. Notice your breath coming and going, and then going a little further. See what would happen if you brought your shoulders back a little bit and your shoulder blades down. And then turned a little bit more to the right. Kept breathing. And now moving very slowly again to the left. Shoulders back and down, shoulder blades down. And let your breath come way high into the upper lobes of the lung. So there's an expansion of the upper chest and the head turns to the left. Notice all the places that you feel this twist. Maybe let your body turn too. When you find the point of resistance, pause there. Let awareness come into wherever the sensations are. And then go a little further again. And now very slowly back to the front, passing the center line eventually. And this time let your right shoulder blade go back and twist further. Maybe let your hand come down to your side and twist further. Let your breath continue. Present in the body, mindful. And now going the other way, back to the center eventually. No hurry. Let your shoulder go back and down and just twist, persist. Let's have a large breath into the upper lobes of the lungs here. And on the out-breath, letting the journey to the other side begin. Turning all the way as far as you can. Noticing the twist in the back. Big deep breath into the upper lobes of the lungs and reclaim a little space for life. And then ever so slowly back toward the center. To simple sitting. Breathing in, breathing out. And let's see what happens now if we allow the head to slowly fall forward onto the chest while the shoulders stay where they are. Letting the breath continue into the upper lobes of the lungs. And slowly letting the head begin to roll toward the right shoulder. Noticing all the sensations that occur. But we're in no rush. Let the ear come toward the shoulder and stretch the left side of the neck. And eventually letting the head ever so delicately, carefully go back. Stretching to the side and the right side and the back now. Notice where the shortnesses are, the tightnesses. Of course, even with something as intensely stimulating as this, the mind can wander. It can have opinions. It can like and dislike. That's all grist for the mill of awakening. It's just this head. Eventually it comes to be that the head approaches the left shoulder, the ear toward the left shoulder. And then slowly, slowly it comes toward the center in the front. Notice any impatience. Some conditionings would say, well, this isn't meditation. I think this is what the Buddha taught as meditation. Presence in all activities, all postures. And let's now rotate slowly the other direction to the left first. You may find somewhere that's particularly sore or tight, in which case you might just abide there for a while. Let the natural weight of the head slowly roll over this way. Let your shoulders be upright and back and down. Eventually it comes all the way to the back. Let your breath be full and deep. Unlike the sitting meditation, we're actually controlling the breath here a little bit to open up space. And then when the head reaches the front, ever so mindfully bringing it up so it sits somewhat balanced. It's a big heavy thing, this head. Sitting. And then know your body below it, your shoulders and your torso. Your arms and hands. The sacrum and the pelvis. The thighs. And the knees and the calves and shins. Knee ankles. The feet and toes. And please now let's see how mindfully we can move from sitting to standing. So don't move for at least a minute. And then observe what's required, how the mind has to plan this, how it may create an image of some kind, maybe a kinesthetic image. And then when it does come time to move, notice what moves first. Are there choices about what moves first? And then, as though you were moving in thick honey, let this movement to standing operationalize itself. Standing. One of the 4 primary postures: sitting, standing, walking, lying down, and everything in between. Standing. And please notice, there's no way to stand still. We have a long body stood on end. It's always tending to fall over. You worked really hard as a toddler to learn how to stand up and walk. Months of concerted effort. And then we have it for a while. We are the temporarily abled. And before our life is done, it could well be that we don't stand anymore. So here we are, standing, bringing awareness into the body, feet on the floor, alive in the legs. Let your knees be bent a little bit. In the pelvis, in the torso, in the hands and arms, and shoulders and neck, and face, scalp. And please allow yourself to begin to sway a little bit from one side to the other. How do you do this? Isn't it interesting? There's an intention in the mind, and then swaying begins. And let your head become involved in the swaying as well. And maybe let there be some twisting with the swaying. Twisting this way and that. And let the swaying be of such intensity that your feet begin to be weightless or even come off the ground a little bit. And then let your right hand begin to swing around to the front of the body, and then to the left, and then the left to the right, so on. and begin to explore the space around you to the degree you can with other human elements nearby. How far up can you reach? How far out to the side and the back? Letting your swaying continue. Alive, in movement, mindful. And then letting your body move in any way it would like to, that it needs to, in order to release its tensions, to stretch, to bend. Notice when your mind wanders, come back. For the rest of our lives, the task is to remember to come back. To be really awake with this body and all of the activities of mind. And please now do whatever else you need to complete your movement, and then please let's find ourselves sitting again. Notice how you get there, though. Don't do it unconsciously. I'm going to ask Avi to do some announcements in a moment, but I want to say a couple of things first. The first is an update on the ramp project. It's coming. We have the funding for it. Many of you contributed generously to it. There is a plan of a door to appear where those middle windows are, and then a ramp that goes down like this and then out to the street and into the living room. The status now is that the preliminary view at the city, the first fellow that looked at it said, "Oh, I think there aren't enough restrooms in that building for the occupancy." So we are proceeding with a letter of looking for a variance that, since the building has worked just fine for 100 years, it's probably okay, and it most probably will be fine. But everything takes time, so that's where that is. And as part of that, I want to invite you, along with your practice of mindfulness, which is of course paramount, to consider the practice of generosity in supporting PIMC. That there's a Dana bowl, there's my bowl when I was a monk in Burma long ago, back there, which you can use. And you can, it's the practice of this. Someone put these beautiful rocks here. Instead of, this is mine, my precious. This is ours. And when you do your monthly budgeting, the gas company and places like that will just say, fork it over, right? Or we're going to turn you off. We will never do that. PIMC has always been and will persist as a Dana-based, generosity-based organization. But it does take intention to divert our discretionary funds. So I invite you to go online and do a monthly pledge and participate in the stewardship circle, as we call it. We haven't picked a date yet, have we, Avi, for a stewardship circle retreat? There'll be another, we'll do that for this fall still. So, I think that's all I have for now. Would you come and do the announcements?
Good morning, up in Internet Land. I don't hear you. Oh, it's not on. Oh, okay. Okay, now. That's it, okay. Good morning, out in Internet Land. My name is Avi, Community Coordinator here. If you want more information about how to access this place. What's that? Turn it down. Okay, here. How about that? My girlfriend has to remind me to use my library voice. There are advantages to having a loud voice. This is not one of them. So we have some announcements. Going to try and keep it short. The children's program is back. Bring your little ones. Yay. It's September happened. I don't know how it happened. So now that we're into September, for Saturday, September 8th, we have Buddhist movie night, 7 Years in Tibet, 6:30 p.m. Just show up. There's information on the website. For most of these things I'm going to say, there's information on the website. Sunday, September 9th is our second Sunday PIMC potluck. Bring your casseroles and your secret recipes and share them with everybody. On Wednesday, September 12th in the evening, we've got a new edition of our NVC practice group with Doyle and Kirsten. Kirsten, you here? No, I guess not. But there is information about that on the website. Thursday, September 20th through October 25th, we've got a new class, The Basics of Mindfulness with Doug Pullen, Thursday evening, 6 to 7:30 p.m. Friday, this is not on the website, but we have flyers both in the living room and outside. One of our KM groups in White Salmon is holding a fall forest backpacking and meditation retreat from September 21st to September 23rd. If you're interested, grab a flyer and contact them directly. Then on Wednesday, September 26th through November 28th, we've got another class, Eightfold Path, on Wednesday evenings. Details are on the website. Saturday, October 6th, we've got our first Saturday monthly day-long retreat at PIMC, one of our series of monthly retreats that we do every first Saturday. On Sunday, October 7th, we've got another mindfulness orientation session with Robert. We just had one this morning. That's for next month in October. And then for Saturday, October 20th, we've got Qigong movement practice retreat with Jim, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Details are on the website. Robert mentioned Donna. There is also an iPad there, so if you need to swipe in order to contribute, you can do that. And if you wish to engage in this community at a deeper level, please consider volunteering. Contact me or Kirsten. We can plug you into some kind of job that would feel good for you and help you get to know other folks here. We also provide Dharma consults here. If you have an issue coming up with your practice and you want to talk with one of the teachers about it, or you want a quick on-ramp to developing a regular practice, please contact me and we can arrange a free 30-minute session for you with one of our teachers. This is what we offer to the community to reduce suffering in the world. And please contact me during my office hours if you want more information on how to access this place and make it your own. Blessings to you all.
Crash. I have an announcement to make that I can't find. Darn it. Well, I will describe it and then I will send out, once again, I can't find what I sent out, an announcement. Tricia Anderson and I, Tricia couldn't make it today, have been talking at some significant length about the long thought about notion of those at PIMC who are drawn towards some form of social, environmental social injustice activities. We're going to. She is leading, coalescing that movement here at PIMC. I've had the impulse to do something for a long time, but not knowing how to do it. It's so easy to fall into opposition, and to move forward with love and compassion is a more complicated thing. And oh darn! I wish I could find that flyer, but she's going to send out, we will be sending out a survey in the next week or so, and I invite you, if you're interested in that, please fill it out and send it in of your interest. And then the first possible gathering of this will be September the 15th here from 9, I think it is, to 5, and we're going to live stream a day-long meeting, teaching from Spirit Rock in California with Joanna Macy and who was that lovely young woman that sat up in the tree, Julia Butterfly, whatever her name is, and maybe 10 or 15 other teachers and people who have been very active in this activity. And so we'll be streaming it live here, and it's on a donation basis. And that's a way that we're going to be beginning this thread. So more information will be on the website, and also I'll send it out on the listserv. Could you give me a glass of water, please? I'm being very judicious in my consumption of the news because it's important for me to not get eaten by it. But there was a beautiful thank you, dear Melanie. Thanks. There was a beautiful little video clip of George W. Bush handing a candy to Michelle Obama at the Aretha Franklin Memorial. It's like, here they're all sitting there very appropriately pious, I guess, and he reaches over and she's a little startled and he gives her a candy. It's very nice. Got to be careful when the camera's on you. I want to share with you, this is all of these words arise from a moment of meditation yesterday. When I realized that meditation is so utterly simple. I mean, there are volumes of books in the Pali Canon, but the real essence of it, the real practice of it, the real achievement of it in a way, is simple beyond belief, which is be here now. Be awake in this moment. And all that incredible superstructure of the Eightfold Path and the 7 of this and the 6 of that and the 5 of that, those are all structures, maps put in place to assist us on finding our way to the territory of the direct experience that everything is like this right now. And I thought of a few associations came up, and this one is kind of an unusual one, but every year or so this poem pops up. You will recognize it, probably. It's not gender neutral, but I'll do it as it is because of its history. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women are merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one person in their time plays many parts, the act being 7 ages. At first the infant, mewling and puking in the nurse's arms, and then the whining schoolboy with his satchel and shining morning face, creeping like snail unwillingly to school. And then the lover, sighing like furnace with a woeful ballad made to his mistress' eyebrow. Then a soldier full of strange oaths and bearded like the pard, jealous in honor, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation even in the cannon's mouth. And then the justice, in fair round belly with good capon lined, with eyes severe and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances, and so he plays his part. The 6th age shifts into the lean and slippered pantaloon, with spectacles on nose and pouch on side, his youthful hose well saved, a world too wide for his shrunk shank, and his big manly voice turning again toward childish treble, pipes and whistles in his sound. Last scene of all that ends this strange, eventful history is second childishness and mere oblivion, sans teeth, sans eyes, sans taste, sans everything. The trajectory. I think it's partly my age, but I'm encountering more people with whom I have or have had acquaintance who are dying. So why meditate? What's the purpose? There's a part of the story of the Buddha's awakening is that he had this experience, or this non-experience, this realization, and then the story goes that he decided not to teach. He looked around the world and he said, forget it. And the way it's usually taught is that then Brahman, the king of the Hindu gods, who'd been waiting for the Buddha because they wanted the teachings, came down and appeared before him and said, look, we really want you to teach. In fact, look again, because you'll discover there are a few with little dust in their eyes. And he looked again and he said, okay. It's like, all right. And then he taught for 42 years or so. There's an alternate translation that I heard one time that I really liked, which is that he had this awakening, and then he realized the thought process was, this is so simple. It's so obvious. No one's going to believe me. So I'm not going to teach. And then Brahman came down and said, no, look again, and so on. So from that, what jumps up in my mind is, at Wat Pah Nanachat, which is the monastery for Westerners in Thailand, of the Thai forest tradition of Ajahn Chah, there are signs. They're green signs, they're about this big, they have yellow writing, and they have Thai, and then they have English translations below. And one of them that's right in the parking lot says, forgetting the exact wording, if you're not practicing and aware of your feelings, you haven't begun to practice. And feelings is not just feelings as in our emotions, but it's Vedana, the liking and disliking, the constant, day in, day out, all day long, the liking and disliking, which is the human experience. So, as I was reflecting upon this talk today, if we're not reflecting upon, if we're not seeing, if we're not perceiving the complexities of our thinking and our emotions and our feelings, our Vedana, if we're not stable enough, if we don't have a stable enough platform to see how they arise like this, all the world's a stage poem, how they arise spontaneously and disappear. We're caught in the trance. We're caught in the trance of what I like to call the person-ality, our personness. And we take our personness very seriously, don't we? And it's really odd in a way. I talked to some of the newcomers today for a little while before we meeting here, and I shared with them something that's been it touches me very deeply. It's the creation myth of our time, I guess, which is that 14.2 billion years ago, out of nothing came our universe. I mean, it's so bizarre. And then it proliferated, it did its thing, and it turned into hundreds of billions of galaxies. Isn't that weird? Some years ago they focused the Hubble telescope on the darkest place in the sky, which is in there's many fewer stars in the southern hemisphere. And on the darkest place, and then they left it there for a week or something. And what did it reveal? Countless more galaxies. And what are galaxies doing? They're forming into being, and they're doing the thing, and they collide sometimes. And imagine the mess that makes when galaxies collide. And planets form, and black holes happen, right? And it's all, this whole thing is happening, and on a different scale completely. Two people came together, a sperm and an egg, and then you were born. And then you went through extensive somebody training to become your somebody, and you have your whole story of your lifetime. This was these were my siblings, and this is what happened, and these were the traumas of my lifetime, and this is why this, and we have all of these complicated mythologies, and then we have all that, and then, as I've encountered over the last 20 years or so, some of us get to a certain point in our life, and then our cognitive capacities begin to diminish, and then they diminish into dementia, and then there's no personality left at all, except reactions, and then ultimately we die. And then that which came from this sperm and egg meeting disappears. What a strange thing. And during that, and I bet it's true for you, I take this very seriously. And we have activities like the amassing of wealth and the trying to maximize our pleasure and keeping people on the other side of the border and things like that I want to protect my well-being. And then we also have mythologies, which is the whole thing of religions, which talk about what will happen to me or my essence, my soul, when I die. And then we believe in that really hard because I don't want to become nothing. In fact, I have a quote. I have a great app that I highly recommend to you. It's called We Croak. And 5 times a day, I get a reminder, remember, you're going to die. Really. And then it, I can pull these up really quickly here. And then, let me see, I've got screenshots. So here they are. I save them occasionally. Oh, there's a lot. Hemingway, all stories, if continued far enough, end in death. And he who is no true storyteller would keep you from that. The world we are part of now is difficult to accept, unimaginably difficult. I don't know if I accept everything even now. I don't know how I can, but acceptance moves past denial, and maybe there's defiance in that too. Jeff Vandermeer, but let me see if I can... Where's this one that I thought was so cool? Sarah Manning, a doctor. A famous poet once wrote that dying is an art like everything else. For hospice doctors, the artists of death, terminal agitation is the subject's revolt against the shaper. It's uncommon, but it can be difficult to watch when it happens. Where's this one? Joan Halifax, whether or not enlightenment is possible at the moment of death, the practices that prepare one for this possibility also bring one closer to the bone of life. Jimi Hendrix, I'm the one that has to die when it's time for me to die, so let me live my life the way I want to. Go, Jimmy. Well, I can't find that one that I wanted, but here's one. Familiar, the Buddha. I am of the nature to age, I've not gone beyond aging. I am of the nature to sicken, I've not gone beyond sickness. I am of the nature to die, I've not gone beyond dying. All that is mine, beloved and pleasing, will change, will become otherwise, will become separated from me. Well, I can't find it, but the essence of it, it was a Mark Twain quote, which was, I was nothing for so many eons before I was this. Why am I so worried about dying? But there's a point I want to make. This meditation, mindfulness practice, is really an extraordinarily effective stress management tool. We can really learn to do things like warm up our hands. I did biofeedback professionally for quite a while, and you can lower your blood pressure by learning how to warm up your hands. And it's called passive volition. We just can learn how to modulate emotion and arousal. And it's something we just develop naturally in meditation. And so that's a great reason to meditate. And then if we meditate with any frequency, we encounter all the stories of our life. We encounter all the emotions of our lifetime. We encounter the human condition. And so we encounter what? We encounter anxiety and peace, easiness, fear and loneliness and confidence and anger and rage and despair and depression and there are momentary changes and changes by the day, by the hour, by the day, by the week, and then there are seasons. Sometimes in our lives are really just damn difficult. I talked about it last week. I had a pretty challenging summer. Yeah, I got sick in Canada, and I had a cold, and then it turned into this lung thing. And I'm a little disappointed actually to have this thing back right now, but at least I can breathe fully. I didn't even realize quite what was happening, but a kind of depression sneaked in. Oxygen deficiency. Ooh, interesting. Now, one thing that was constant through that was sitting. It's partly age, I think, but also after almost 45 years of practice, I just love to stop and sit down and watch. All the world's a stage. And these thoughts come in. And this mood comes in. And this sleepiness takes over. And then this restlessness. And then this, oh, I forgot to do that. Or oh, no, I did that. Oh. And the personality does its dance in the light of consciousness. And the suffering that comes from resistance goes down and down and down and down. So, stress management is wonderful. Developing the capacity to modulate our emotions and recognize what our emotions are, and to have better communication, because we can experience when this person says that in that particular way, it comes in and this happens, and then this impulse arises to speak back or text back or whatever. And all of this can be kind of slowed down in our meditation, so we become much more effective people, more effective communicators, and also we become more loving and compassionate because we discover there's so much suffering in ourselves. We're all so nutty that we start having more compassion for the craziness of the people around us. I had a morning last week? I think it was just a few days ago. I don't know what was going on, but this during my meditation, so much anxiety. I was just anxious, and it persisted and I kept, so what is this? And it's like, well, I haven't been watching the news much. That's one of the reasons I can't watch too much news, because there's so much that is, it's the focus of that. And also sometimes I tune in on the, what I think of as the air raid sirens of environmental collapse. And maybe the smoke in the air or something like that. And my denial gets broken a little bit, and I realize how the earth is crying, the challenge that we face right now. But anyway, there was this anxiety. And then in the afternoon, I don't know why, there came in this great ease, and I met with a couple of people, and there was so much love and compassion. And for those two states to exist in the same day with no particular reason, that's interesting. So coming back again to this practice of sitting in the midst of whatever's happening. and I want to share this poem with you. This is probably my poem for this lifetime. My father died 25 years ago, and I did recite this at his funeral and my mother's funeral. On my 50th birthday, actually, Jim Dalton, who's away on a family trip today, kind of humorously roasted me with this poem. I am not I. It's Juan Ramón Jiménez, a middle of last century Spanish poet, translated by Robert Bly. I am not I. I am this one standing beside me whom I do not see, whom at times I do manage to visit, but whom mostly I forget, who remains calm and silent when I speak, and forgives gently when I hate, who walks where I am not, and who will remain standing when I die. I am not I am this one standing beside me whom I do not see, whom at times I do manage to visit, but whom mostly I forget, who remains calm and silent when I speak, and who forgives gently when I hate, who walks where I am not, and who will remain standing when I die. I'm observing there's a little frustration. It's like, damn it, there's that meaning I want to pass on that isn't coming yet. I guess it's so simple to sit and rest back into that which we really are. Isn't to be perfect, or isn't to be free from the craziness of the human mind. It's to realize that everything's okay, like it is right now. It's to realize that it's like one language is the locus of identity shifts out of I'm worried, I've got to solve this problem, how can I fix this, the world's in trouble, to shift from that into, oh, look at the mind worrying. Look at this anxiety. Am I going to have enough money in my 401k or whatever to last me through my old age? Am I going to have an old age? Is this sickness a terminal sickness? Are my children going to be okay? All that busy, crazy mind, that's all just what normal human minds do. And that we don't have to stop that. We don't have to graduate from that and someday be perfect, be silent, be always at ease. That at any moment, there's this capacity that we have in the human mind. I take refuge in the Buddha into being that which knows, that which is awake. It's so simple. Something I said to the newcomers this morning that I always say, and I always preface it because to try to get our attention. And I say this, what I'm about to say is the single most important thing I'll share with you this morning. And it's this, that most people, even people who've been practicing for quite some time, hold the belief that if I'm doing it properly, the mind will be quiet, I will be at ease, there will be bliss. and no thoughts. Thoughts will have stopped. If that is our underlying belief, then we're always failing, aren't we? Right? Every time you meditate and you're worried, or the mind is worried, or every time you're angry, or every time you're practicing and there's sloth and torpor and you're falling asleep, or that you're failing. You're not doing it right. Because proper practice would be concentrated bliss. Now, concentration and bliss and delight are real, and they develop more and more over time, and they're part of the fruit of practice. But a wiser, deeply held belief, a wiser aspiration would be, I'd like to come to the place where I can accept things as they are. That when I meditate, however this mind is, I'll accept it. I'll accept it. And in that acceptance, I'm waking up. Doesn't mean I can't use my breath to develop some concentration, and doesn't mean I can't really welcome concentration when it arises. But to shift my goal from shutting it down into, oh, it's like this, which then allows us to go through those periods when there is a lot of worry. Let's say you're having a major transition in your life, a relationship is ending or something. And there's anxiety, there's loss, there's all that stuff's going to be happening. It's normal, right? When there's attachment and then the attachment ends, the self has to grieve. And that grief can take lots of forms. Anger, sadness, confusion, hopelessness, despair, relief. So if one's model of practice includes, all right, here I am, a human being, grieving, freaked out, uncertain, maybe doubt, I'm having a lot of doubt about myself or about the practice. That's normal too. And it's so helpful to have the habit, the life-giving, life-saving habit of finding a spot to sit down and to just sit. So what if in this moment we were to just sit? Don't need to change position, just be here. Breathing's happening. Thoughts are happening. Several years ago, I bought an app for my phone. It's called Flight Aware 24. I've shown several people in this room this app. It projects on the screen the actual location on a map of all the airplanes that are flying in the world right now. So you can put it on Portland, and it has a plane coming in or a plane taking off, and it's a Boeing something or other, and it's got a picture of it. People have taken pictures of all the planes. And it's coming in from San Diego or wherever. And you look at it, and there's a bunch of nice planes around Portland. And then you back off a little bit, and there's more around San Francisco. You back off a bit, and then there's these streams coming into LA. And you back off and move over to the right, in Atlanta, there's this stream. And then over from New York and Chicago over the pole, over Greenland, there's this river. And then there's a river that goes from London, from Europe to the Middle East. I mean, it's tens of thousands of giant airplanes. And then there's China, of course, is blanketed, and so on. All over the world, except Africa, there's hardly anything happening. But there's these planes, each one of which takes off with 80,000 gallons of jet fuel. And I looked at this, and have been very concerned about the environmental circumstances of the planet. And something in me, oddly enough, relaxed. It was like, oh, right. Oh, that's not taking into account the freighters or the gas, the coal-fired power plants, the gas plant. The magnitude of this carbon dioxide thing that we're doing in the planet it's kind of beyond imagining. It is beyond imagining. But what that did for me was to realize, oh, I can relax because it's so big. I can't change it. I can work with my little piece of it a bit if I want. But the only sensible thing to do is to realize it's really all okay. Because I can tense up. What about this? What about what's going to happen with my children or my grandchildren? The only sensible thing to do is relax. Because all the world's a stage. And anytime this mind goes to contraction and tension, I've got to control it, it's delusion. Is this making sense? It's just such a relief to accept the magnitude of the world and the impossibility of being safe. There is no safety. Yeah, please, I think I'm done. Please, come get the mic, okay? That way, our friends at home can hear. Please say your name, okay? Deb.
I think that the whole idea of it just is. It's simple, right? But then you also feel like there's a sense of, well, if I become apathetic, what am I here for? So where's that line between acceptance and apathy?
Well, where would it be for you, do you think?
I don't know how to answer that.
I know I've struggled with it for a long time. I did a master's in environmental studies that I completed in 1974. And I got pretty depressed. And why I got interested in that is I had traveled for 5 years, really a lot, all over the planet. And I was very distressed by what I saw happening. And so the way that it makes sense for me, I can get overwhelmed, and I'm in my separate frightened little identity, and it's overwhelming, and oh no, all this suffering is happening. And then if I open more deeply, I realize I don't have to go unconscious to it, but I also can I can be joyful. I can be loving. I can like in this moment here this is as good as it gets, right? And so to be present for the day before yesterday was with my grandson. That's cool. Mm-hmm. And to be with that and delight in that, and also simultaneously realize the magnitude of the dukkha on the planet. So it's not apathy; it's really awakeness. But I've been working. I still work trying to work that balance. That's why I have to be careful with the media, because I can take in too much. I can have any of the world's great catastrophes that are happening in 5 minutes, 30 seconds. And then I can get overwhelmed because my nervous system isn't designed to be taking in that much. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I translate in my own head to awareness doesn't equal apathy because you're aware. If you're really apathetic, you wouldn't care at all. You wouldn't have awareness of
Right.
it.
And something else I think that develops, particularly through our practice, is compassion and kindness. And compassion is, oh, there's suffering, how can I help? And then there are those ways we can be really effective in helping.
Mm-hmm.
We can reduce the suffering of ourselves and the people around us. And
Well, and I think there's some level
a
of,
little closer.
I think there's some level of ego involved too when we think, I must do something about this,
Right.
and if I can't, then what am, so,
Right.
thank you.
Thank you. Great.
I have a question on, so like you said, this is really simple. It's awesome how simple it is, but it's also really hard. And when I'm here in the temple with beautiful people and very good teachers, and it's like quiet, it's very easy to do all these things. But when I'm at work and things are crazy, it's very hard to just be like, oh, this is our moment, but like, I'm getting annoyed, you know? So like, how do you maintain being aware? Like, I want to like relieve suffering, but I get so caught up in my own delusion on such a regular basis. Like, how do we remind ourselves?
Yes, I agree. And that's the practice. That's the practice of the household, or the practice of daily life. And I'm remembering a long time ago, I was at a teachers' conference with a fellow who was, I forget what tradition he was from, somewhere on the East Coast, and he said he practiced. He sat for 2 hours a day because he said, I am a pediatric oncologist, and there's no way I could cause the pain that I cause to these children and stay sane if I didn't have 2 hours a day of practice. So, and that's a big commitment. And the other thing though is, let's say someone's doing something obnoxious, and you're encountering that, and you're starting to have your anger and reaction to it. To just be aware of that anger and reactivity, even if you act out. To note that with compassion. Here's this human being doing her best, and she's imperfect. And over time, that makes a big difference. I used to have bad road rage 25 years ago or so. And now, with the exception of when huge pickup trucks pass and someone screams at me when I'm bicycling, that still pokes me. It's like for a second, and then I realize, what's the point, right? But it's scary, and so it brings up that testosterone energy. But we can make tremendous inroads in our reactivity, which then affects us in the workplace.
I have a very, very good friend who's been practicing Buddhism for a long time, and she said that when you hear a car honking, it's the sound of suffering, and you should feel bad for them.
When you hear a car honking, it's the sound of suffering, and you should...
She said, feel compassion for them.
That makes sense. That does make sense. And we're just going to pass it back.
I had a question about, so in my line of work, I get a lot of people that if they're in a place of suffering, whether personally or, where they live, because that's what I do, I manage where people live. So sometimes they'll come with their suffering, their troubles, and lump it on, centrally, like I'm the central hub for people aiming these troubles. Is there a way to, I guess, in a practice, take all of that and kind of find a way to let it go? Because it's easy to have compassion, so I can do that part, but it's, releasing that.
Well, I think the ideal answer is become the Buddha. And then it won't bother you at all. There's one of the teachings of the Buddha. A fellow came with him and he was very rageful. Oh, are the kids here early? The person was very rageful, and the Buddha just sat there quietly, never said a word. And the guy ranted and raged, and then finally he just left. And Ananda, Buddha's disciple, said, what was that? Usually you're very wise with people. And he said, oh, Ananda, when you were a householder, did people sometimes visit you? Yes. Did they sometimes bring gifts? Yes. Did they sometimes bring the gift of gifts that you didn't want? He said, yes. Did you sometimes then send them home with it? He said, yes. Well, this person brought the gift of anger and hatred, and I didn't accept it. Now that's pretty fancy, but so the more that one can be. I grew up in a household with anger. I'm somewhat anger phobic. Anger's scary to me. It's a weakness. It's a challenge for me. But the more that one can be in balance and notice, this person is angry. I'm here. I'm breathing in. I'm not angry. They're angry. This is their emotion. And then watch how it tends to, it grabs. It's like it's wanting to. And then particularly if we do what is so easy to do in helping roles, which is, I wish I could help them, I should be able to, the system should be able to help them, why are we inadequate? And then we get very complex. But simply taking it as, this person is angry and they're hurting. Why are they angry? Well, they're scared, they're frightened. So then to see it as theirs, that's a little level of practice, support. And at the end of the day, before leaving work or soon thereafter, spend some time and actually practice relinquishing the stuff that we've been hit with all day. And some of our professional work, to work in an ER, for instance, or for many, it's pretty unlikely to be able to do that work without getting secondary traumatization. To work with, as I did for some time, with a lot of people who have trauma, and they come in and they're unloading their trauma all day. It's very easy to get fried and to become unfunctional, actually. So as much self-care as you can, and that quality of seeing it as compassionately is not mine. We do need to end. Is it real quick? Kids are in the chute.
I think there's something intermediate to be said between the formal sitting practice and these really difficult situations. And there's a lot of things that we do, like driving or washing the dishes, or when we're done here, we got to get up and we got to walk out. When I'll take washing dishes. I have the intention to wash the dishes. Is it necessary for me to be thinking about it while I'm doing it? Is it necessary? Or what happens is, I don't think about it when I'm doing it. My mind is distracted and goes someplace else. It's not necessary to be thinking about all these things, these tasks that come to us, things that are not all that demanding, like, say, washing the dishes. So there's an opportunity when it's less demanding and less stressful to, while I'm washing the dishes, I can come back to this first foundation of mindfulness, my body. I've got some weight, some mass. I can feel my feet on the floor. There's enough space in my attention to hold that, or the sensations of breathing. I can do that, and the dishes just kind of wash themselves. I don't have to be doing it. And if I can remember to do that when the situation is not real stressful and demanding, it's an intermediary place between formal sitting and these really demanding situations that make it easier when this maybe an anger attack comes at me. Oh, wait a minute, I'm here. I'm sitting here. I'm breathing. There's this, there's this. I don't know.
Thank you, David. Please do join us now in a big circle. If you'd like to be amongst the kids, you're welcome to come and join the inner circle. Thank you to those of you that are joining us out on the net. Hold your own hands or the hands of somebody else nearby. Oh, where'd the mic go? Where's the microphone? There it is. Ta-da! Thank you. Oh, hang on, not quite yet. Can I sit down, sweetie? Come on in. Are you the singer today? Great. Those two? Yay. So, please hold a hand to left or right. Can I hold your hand? Thank you, Nisi. One of a kind ever in the vast, infinite vastness of space. There's a hand on your right. Give it a little squeeze. Thank you for being the hand on my right. The hand on the left, give that one a little squeeze. These minds can do anything. Why not have them send a blessing to the person on your left? And so to the persons all the way around these circles and, in fact, out into the world in all directions. May all beings merit from the benefits of our practice. So, is there? Yes, there is. Here you go. You two ready? Test 1, 2. Good. I think it's on. Here, let me see. Yep. So whenever you're ready. 1, 2, 3. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you. Okay. Oops, bonk. So, now the highlight of the day. Make a wish, please. Think of a wish. And then everyone take a deep breath, and when I count, we'll blow. You ready? You got a deep breath? 1, 2, 3, blow. Yes, we did it. So, thank you all for being here. Do please come and join us for some tea and goodies, and see you soon. Thanks for coming. Thank you, dear friends.